Numbers chapter 16, a challenge to the priesthood. Korah, Izhar's son, Korah's grandson, and Levi's great-grandson, with Dathan and Abiram, Eliab's sons, and on Peleth, sons, descendants of Reuben, rose up against Moses, along with 250 Israelite men, leaders of the community chosen by the assemblymen reputation. They assembled against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You've gone too far, because the entire community is holy, every last one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the Lord?" Lord's assembly. When Moses heard this, he fell on his face. He spoke to Korah and all his community. "In the morning the Lord will make known who he is, who is holy, and who is able to approach him. The one he chooses for himself is the one who will be able to approach him. This is what must be done. Korah and your entire community, take censers of yourself. Tomorrow put a fire in them and place incense on them in the Lord's presence. The men who the Lord chooses, the one is holy. You Levites have gone too far." Moses said to Korah, "Listen to the Levites. Isn't it enough for you that Israel God has separated you from the Israelites community to allow you to approach him, to perform the service of the Lord's dwelling, and serve before the community by ministering for them? He has allowed you to and all your fellow Levites with you to approach him, yet you also seek the priesthood. Thus, you and your entire community have assembled against the Lord. But Aaron, what is he that you complain about him?" Moses sent for Dathan and Abiram, Eliab's sons, but they said, "We won't come up. Isn't it enough that you brought us up from the land full of milk and honey to kill us in the desert, so that you also dominate us? Moreover, you haven't brought us to a land full of milk and honey, nor given us the inheritance of the field and vineyard. Would you also gouge out the eyes of these men? We won't come up. Verse 15. Moses became very angry, and he said to the Lord, "Pay no attention to their offering. I haven't taken a single donkey from them. Now have I wronged any of them?" Moses said to Korah, "You have an entire community should you appear before the Lord tomorrow. You, they, and Aaron, every person should take his censer, place incense on it, and present it before the Lord. Each person will carry his censer, 250 censers in all. Including you and Aaron." Every person took his censer, placed it fire on it, put incense on it, and stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting with Moses and Aaron. Korah gathered the entire community with the enhance of the meeting tent. Then the Lord's glory appeared to the entire community. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, "Separate yourselves from the community so that I may consume them in a moment." They fell on their face and said, "God, the God of all living things, if one person sins, you should become angry with the entire community." 23. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the community and say, withdraw from around the dwellings of Kohath, Dathan and Abiram." Moses rose up and went to Dathan and Abiram. Israel's elders followed him. He spoke to the community, "Make way for the tents of these wicked men, and I don't touch anything of theirs, lest you to be wiped out from all their sins." They withdrew from around the dwelling. Kohath, Dathan, Abiram. Then Dathan and Abiram came out and stood in the entrance of their tents with their wives, children, and little ones. Moses said, By this you will know that the Lord will send me to those needs, and it will won't waste my time or desire. If these people die of a natural death or their fate be that of all humans, and the Lord hasn't sent me, but if the Lord performs an act of creation, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them and everything that belongs to them, so that they descend alive on the grave, that you will know these men are disrespected the Lord. As soon as he finished speaking these words, the ground under them split open. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their household, including every human that belonged to Korah and all their possessions. They were all in their possession, descendants alive, and their graves, and the earth closed over them. They perished in the middle of the assembly. All the Israelites who were around them fled at their cry, for they said, "The earth may swallow us." Then fire went from the Lord and consumed the 250 men offering incense. The reminder of censers. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell Izhar, Aaron, the priest's son, to raise the censers from the fire and scatter the ashes about." Because they are holy, hammer the censers of these who sinned their lives into thin plates for the altar, since they presented them in the Lord's presence. They had to become holy. They were signed for the Israelites. Eleazar, the priest, took over the bronze censer presented by those who had been consumed by fire and hammered them into a covering for the altar, just as the Lord inducted him through Moses. This was a reminder for the Israelites that no outsider who isn't one of Aaron's descendants should approach to burn incense. In the Lord's presence, so as not to the like of Korah and his community. Verse 41. On the next day, the entire Israelite community complained to Moses and Aaron, "You killed the Lord's people." When the community assembled against Moses and Aaron, they turned toward the tent of meeting. At that moment, the cloud covered it, and the Lord's glory appeared. Moses and Aaron came to the front of the meeting tent, and the Lord spoke to Moses, "Get away from the community so that I may consume them in an instant." They fell to their faces. And Moses said to Aaron, "Take the censer, put it on the altar, place incense on it, so go quickly to the community and seek reconciliation for them. Indeed, the Lord's anger has gone out. The plague has begun." Aaron took it as Moses said and ran into the middle of the assembly, for the plague had already begun among people, and burned incense and sought reconciliation for the people. He stood between the dead and the living, and the plague stopped. Those who died from the plague were 14,700. In addition to those who died because of Korah, Aaron returned to Moses and at the entrance of the meeting tent once the plague stopped. Thank you for listening to this chapter, and God bless.